Okay, we have a rather interesting new series and it starts now. We're going to be teaming up with Embryo to give you guys an insight into exactly what it takes to not only stock but fully develop a fishery. Got to be the biggest, darkest cobble of the bunch, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of the original ones. You know, you can't put 100 fish in there. You know, you just can't do it. It won't support that level of biomass, but you can have 30, 40 really special fish in time, you know, because it's a gradual build that makes it just a super cool place to come and spend some time, really.
Okay, we have a rather interesting new series and it starts now. We're going to be teaming up with Embryo to give you guys an insight into exactly what it takes to not only stock but fully develop a fishery. Now, many of you will turn up at a fishing lake, it's already in place, all the carp are already in there, the swims are already made, everything's laid out for you, and all you have to do is enjoy the pleasure of catching the carp. Well, it is not always that simple, and the guys at Embryo know all too well what goes into this process, and there is a lot involved, trust me. So we are at the very start of this process now. We've got a stock pond over to my right, we've got lakes in Peterborough which you're going to travel to today, but before any of that can happen, you have to get the fish from the stock pond into the nets, into the holding tank, and that is exactly the process the boys were faced with yesterday.
Yeah, so this site, we work with gravel companies a lot. Brett are the gravel company that own this one. We've run a lot of other fisheries through those guys, and this was something that they gave us as in their portfolio, something they weren't doing a lot with. So that's basically how we got it. They sort of said to us, do you want this? It doesn't really fit as a fishery, but we did think it, you know, we could grow some fish on, make it a nice little place just to do a few sort of hand-picked ones for the future, really. We put a few in with the idea of essentially growing them on over a number of years and rod and lining them, really, you know, getting them to £20 plus. If we had a venue where we needed 10, 15 sort of hand-picked 20s or whatever, we'd come down here, fish them out in November time, move them to the lake where we'd put a lot of commercial fish in as such, and then have them as a nice little sort of icing on the cake, really. So that was the original plan with it, but clearly today we're having to do something a bit different. The guys we've got in to do this job, it's like Andrew Ellis and his guys, Ben and Dave. They're really good with the net, you know, they get the job done. We've used them before. I think when you're doing this kind of thing, you know, the people we've used in the past and these guys as well, they know what they're doing, and you need that sort of professional touch. Otherwise you're here mucking about and you don't get what you get, you know. At least when you get the professionals in, you get a good chunk of them if it's possible to get them, basically.
I'm Andrew Ellis, a fisheries a little company. We do basically anything fishery management related, a lot of survey work, this sort of stuff really. It's sort of what we've done. I've been doing it for 25 years now, and we just work everywhere, all over the country, sort of trying to help people develop and manage fisheries, really.
With this job here, this is not sort of a standard netting as such. This would, personally, when I got Andrew in, I thought this one was well sketchy. You know, you only need to look at the terrain, look around us here, you know, it's a steep gradient. Just getting in through that field's a nightmare. We had to have tractors on standby, everything like that. Got the boys in with all the kit, get it down on the bank. We've got a lot of the Embryo lads, Rob and Rich and Dave and me here on standby. The guys out here, so what they've done, they've shot a net round the lake, catch net in, and then they've basically barriered between the margin and the main body of the lake. And then for 3 or 4 runs, as you can hear now coming through, the lads are there electro-fishing on the outside of the main net, trying to get them all out the snags where they've been pushed. And then later, in the next hour or two, we'll pull the main net with whatever's in the main body of the lake in, really. The netting itself is quite a basic process. So you have like a float line along the top, which again you've seen the footage, laying all out on the surface. Underneath we've got a lead line, basically on the deck, and you know, you imagine you're essentially trawling, really. So it's out in the pit, you lay it out as best you can, and then you just draw it into you gradually, and you know, the fish go in the back of the net as you build it up, or somewhere in between. As you get close, they're all forced into the back, and then you tighten up that lead line and essentially loop it all in underneath you, bring it in the top section as well, and fold it all in. So yeah, essentially sort of trawling, really. Electrofishing, you know, it's widely used within, you know, on a job like this, you're not getting them without it, to be fair. You know, you wouldn't get anywhere near the volume. I think there's an element of debate, particularly with older, bigger fish, you know, because you're effectively stunning along the lateral line. So as they twist up, when they go back up towards the probe, you know, if you're doing it to a 40-year-old 40-pounder, you know, that kind of violent spasming, you know, anecdotally, I wouldn't think that would be ideal. With this here, you've got a lot of quite small fish, you know, young fish, just shocks them for a few seconds. They pop up towards the probe and then you sweep them into the net and, you know, you're generally okay. But, you know, I wouldn't be doing it if this was full of, you know, old, large fish. I think that would be a different proposition. We wouldn't sort of engage with it then, I think. Again, with the electrofishing, it's definitely something you need to know what you're doing, you know, the levels.